Rio Snovo stonewalled them.
Inter Miami Soccer is on ESPN 106.3.
Gol de Messi!
This is Pink Smoke. Here's Mike Rizzo.
Welcome on in, folks, to Pink Smoke, where we talk everything Inter Miami, everything Lionel Messi, and everything world football. I'm your host, Mike Rizzo, the voice of the Inter Miami Herons, and Cade Chumslin substituting in for Damian Perez. Damian Perez on assignment on a little vacation, getting it in before Inter Miami is back in action this weekend. And, folks, we are opening a brand new stadium in Miami. I am thrilled to bits to be there on site. Coming up this Saturday, as I've mentioned, going to be a night start, 7:30 game against Austin FC. We'll break that one down throughout the show. We'll welcome back in friend of show, Jake Zivin. Jake is the lead play-by-play man for Apple TV for all of your MLS needs. Keep in mind, too, folks, you can listen to every single Inter Miami game right here on ESPN 106.3 and also on the ESPN South Florida app. So download the South Florida app. And a third place you could watch our Inter Miami coverage and listen to our Inter Miami coverage is ESPN West Palm FC. Give us a subscription today. We talk everything, obviously, Inter Miami, world football, all the live stream. You click in on the live stream right there on your computer. That's ESPN West Palm FC. And where I wanted to start today was actually on the international side before we get into a little Inter Miami, because my most recent short that I posted on ESPN West Palm FC was asking you fine folks, what do we think Italy is going to do against Bosnia-Hungary? What is our Team USA, our United States men's national team? What are they going to do against a good opponent against Portugal after getting embarrassed by Belgium? It was an absolute disaster class for me, folks. Now, for those of you that don't know, my last name is Rizzo. That's not necessarily Irish, folks. My father is 100% Sicilian Italian, and I'm a big fan, our whole family, big fan of Italian soccer, Italian football. Remember the 06 World Cup like it was yesterday. Watched it with my grandfather, my dad, my brother. We all celebrated. This morning, I had to explain to my grandmother why Italy is missing their third straight World Cup. It was one of those things where my grandmother's 90 years old, and she's with it. She's sharp. You know what I mean? And for those of you that are still, lucky enough to have your grandparents around, like that my grandmother is my rock. But I mean with the issues that I had with drinking, being 5 years sober, she helped me through a lot of tough times. She's like the wise man of the family. But I had to explain to Amma why Italy was out for the third time, and it's really embarrassing because of the amount of teams that make the FIFA World Cup now. Like it expanded by 50%. And you're telling me the Italians are going to be out of it for the third year in a row, for the third time in a row? It's going to be 18. It's going to be almost 2 decades since the next time we could possibly see Italy make a World Cup. Unbelievable. A team who has more World Cups than France and countries combined. They're going to be out of it for the third year, for the third time, keep on saying year, for the third time in a row. It is unheard of. Unheard of. I blame a lot of things. I blame homegrown Italian players. You're just not seeing them anymore. Like, you got good midfielders and Barea and good defenders in DeMarco and Bastoni. Bastoni was the one who picked up the red card and completely blew up the game in the 42nd minute. But to have Italy not be represented for the third straight time in the World Cup, completely unacceptable. And it happened at the hands of Bosnia. Bosnia, listen, it's great for them. It's great for their fans, their country. I mean, they went completely, the streets were flooded. The streets were flooded. And you give them all the credit in the world. Italy went up 1-0 early in that game. Obviously, the Italians picked up the red card, as I mentioned, in that 42nd minute. And for those of you that are maybe new to world football, new to soccer, if a player on your team picks up a red card, that means they have to exit the pitch and you can't replace them. So you're playing with 10 men. There's 11 men allowed on the pitch at a time, including a goalkeeper. So 10 and a goalkeeper. And if you pick up a red card, you're playing a man down. You're playing 10 versus 11 out there. And Italy did that for for the sake of the, you play 90 minutes in a football game. They did that for 48 minutes, 51 plus the extra time. And Bosnia did not score the tying goal until the 80th minute, 79th minute. And gosh, to concede that goal and then to lose in penalty kicks, you go to extra time, you play 20 minutes. Oh, okay. Well, maybe they could figure it out, and maybe they could figure it out in penalties. First penalty Italy took, he skied it to the fifth row. I mean, you cannot make it up. You cannot make it up. And I'm trying to make a comparison. Italy not making the World Cup for 3 years in a row. It's like the New York, damn near like the New York Yankees not making the World Cup. Italy is one of those teams and one of those countries that have, they're top 3 in most World Cup trophies ever. And it's like that. It's like a top team like the Yankees missing the playoffs for 3 years in a row. I know the Yankees had their bad spell in the 90s. You know what I mean? Their nightmare spell in the 90s before, Steinbrenner took it on over. But, geez, man. Unacceptable. And as someone who follows Italian football, loves Serie A as a league, loves the Italian players, they're just not good enough, man. Go look at France. France has 3 starting 11s that are better than Italy's entire team. Literally. France could have 3 different starting 11s, and those players, those starting 11s, every single one would be better than the current Italy one. Good midfielders, good defenders. You got nothing in attack. You got nothing going forward. And the whole digging in and going up a goal and passing it back for 80 minutes, it's an ancient practice. You can't do it anymore. And the last 3 World Cups, I think, have proved that. Now, on the United States men's national team side, I mean, geez, are we seriously going to do this and embarrass ourselves on home soil? Maurizio Pochettino is the manager. He's had enough time to work through the kinks of a squad. The only thing I'll defend Pochettino for, I kind of found myself with him when he complained to the national play, about the best of the best for the United States not playing in the Gold Cup. And for those of you that don't know what a Gold Cup is, it's a continental trophy. So you have the CONCACAF, which the United States is a part of, along with the big ones, Canada, Mexico, and usually those 3 squads, the USMNT, the Tree, and Mexico, and the Canadians. Those 3 are usually the best squads and are the ones at the end, pending an upset. All right, that's CONCACAF. CONMEBOL is like Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, those countries like that. And the United States, we dominate the CONCACAF. But when it comes to competing with other teams, like for instance, the United States lost 5-2 to Belgium and everything. We are worlds apart from that. But the Gold Cup is where Canada, Mexico, Panama, and countries like that come. Men's national team players said, nope, we're not doing that. We're not showing up to that. I'm going to focus on the club right now. Like Weston McKennie, who plays for Juventus. They were playing in the FIFA Club World Cup. He decided not to play for the national team and go play in that. Christian Pulisic, Captain America, our best player. He said, nope, I'm too banged up from the AC Milan season. I'm not playing. Pochettino dealt with stuff like that. To put things in perspective, I've seen Argentinian players. I'll bring up an instance. Lisandro Martinez, who is a defender for Manchester United, who was unavailable for club games due to injury. Well, Man United found out he was playing for Argentina when Argentina trotted out their 11. Like, guys will miss club games and play injured for their national team. That's not the standard. And granted, nobody should be playing injured, but you get what I'm saying, folks. Like, it is an absolute honor to play for the country. Argentinians, if you get the call up, you can't ignore it. Lionel Messi gets the call up and he plays. Messi's one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player of all time. There isn't that standard for U.S. soccer right now. And Pochettino dealt with that during the Gold Cup. And one of the excuses Maurizio Pochettino, I think, is kind of floated out there is that he hasn't had his guys who are going to be in the starting 11 come World Cup time long enough. That's the only thing I could possibly listen to. The issue is the last 4 or 5 friendlies, you've had 7 of the 11, 9 of the 11. And in this instance, against Belgium and against Belgium and the recent team, you had the squad and you played bad. Portugal lost 2-0. Belgium lost 5-2. You had majority of the players that are going to be starting. We're 4 months, 3.5, 4 months out from the World Cup. This is some of the last times we're going to see you until you put on the jersey for the World Cup. You look terrible. You got outscored 7-2. Belgium's good. I get it. Portugal's a top 5 team. I get it. But geez, 7-2? Nice to know we're not going to be advancing in the knockout round. Nice to know we shouldn't show up after the fixed group stage of Australia and the band of misfit toys that we got paired with. And it'd be a joke if we don't win the group. Like, the good news, I guess you could call it good news. It wouldn't be good news for me, for play to you. But if the U.S. finish second in the group, they'll advance because the top 2 groups advance. But, I mean, like, if you don't win the group, that's a failure. I had Jake Zivin. By the way, Jake Zivin going to be joining us in about 9 minutes here, coming up at 6:20. Jake Zivin's the lead play-by-play man for Apple TV, friend of show. We've had him on multiple times. But I asked Jake this, and we both agreed. You got to be one of the last 8 remaining. No one's expecting you to win the World Cup. I mean, God, look at France. Look at Spain. Look at Argentina. Look at Portugal, who you just lost to. I mean, you know, you're not beating those teams, but you were uncompetitive. And I still think on home soil, the U.S. needs to get to one of the last 8 teams. It would tie the deepest we've ever gone in the World Cup, dating back to 2002 in Seoul. And don't forget, back in 2002, there was a clear hand. I mean, the ball, I don't know. Listen, I'm upsetting myself. Regardless, in 2002, you got a bad result against Germany on a bad call. All right. Not trying to rehash old war wounds here for my fellow U.S. men's national team fans out there. But you got to be one of the last 8 teams remaining. And I'm sorry, losing 7-2 to Belgium and Portugal combined, that tells me we're leagues away. The English have a saying, we're miles off it, mate. We're miles off it. We're miles off being one of the final 8 teams. We're 4 months to go, 3.5 months to go here. Let's count it. What is it? It's first day. So you still have all of April, May, June, about 3 months. About 3.5 months. And you're not ready. Listen, I hope things change. I hope Pochettino has those guys ready to run through a wall come World Cup time. But I know how this works. Those kids, those players look like they don't even want to play for Poch. There's no cohesiveness. There's no team aspect in it. And maybe Poch was right. Maybe, he didn't have enough time with the guys who are actually going to be playing on the pitch. But that's an excuse. Poch was brought in here to set the standard. And listen, Berhalter, there was the whole thing with Gio Reyna, and they weren't playing him because of bias and the whole thing with his dad. That was an ugly situation. But outside of that, at least Berhalter got that team to the knockout stage in Qatar. The Netherlands dispatched Team USA, but at least they got to that knockout stage. At least they were one of the 16 teams, available and one of the 16 that advanced. This is Pink Smoke, folks, where we talk everything Inter Miami, Lionel Messi, and international football. I'm reacting to the Italians losing to Bosnia, missing their 3rd straight World Cup, and Team USA not even ready for a friendly. And we're 3.5 months away from the FIFA World Cup on U.S. soil. Once again, there will be games in Canada, games in the U.S., and also games in Mexico. Going to be a fun time. I'm just hoping that, the Team USA, my lads, they're going to be ready to go. It certainly doesn't look like that they're going to be ready to go at this point, but there is still time. Folks, coming up here in about 5 minutes, we're going to welcome on in Jake Zivin, friend of show and lead play-by-play man for Apple TV. You could listen to him and watch him on Apple TV. I'm sure he's going to be calling that Inter Miami game coming up at the new stadium. But before we take a quick time out, I do want to give a proper shout out to our friends over at Audi. And we're going to go around the MLS presented by Audi. Around the MLS, always brought to you by your local South Florida Audi dealers. We all know that feeling, a change of plans, a new opportunity. Instead of overthinking it, what if you just said yes? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer is easy. It is made for the yes life. Say yes. Say yes with the Audi Q3 that has the power and room to handle whatever pops up. Say yes to adventure and yes to right now, because saying yes without hesitation, that is real luxury. That's the all-new Audi Q3 made for the yes life. Learn more at AudiUSA.com. That is AudiUSA.com. Or test drive the brand new Q3 at your local South Florida Audi dealers. Go to AudiUSA.com to find those locations. Inter Miami and the MLS took a break this past weekend. There were no games due to the international break. But if you want to check the table real quick, and this is around the MLS presented by Audi, folks, Inter Miami currently sitting in third on that Eastern Conference table. They are tied with NYCFC and Nashville sitting on top of the table. We will be having MLS games coming up this weekend. Looking forward to getting back in action with our Inter Miami Herons. And that's a little around the MLS with Inter Miami. Third on the table. They're tied with points with NYCFC, but NYCFC is currently getting the nod because they have a better goal differential. Once again, test drive the brand new Q3 at your local South Florida Audi dealer. Taking a quick timeout. When we come back, Jake Zivin, lead play-by-play man for Apple TV and friend of show, rejoins us, ESPN 106.3.
For 40 years, Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fraunrath has stood up for clients and South Florida communities. If you've been injured, their experienced attorneys across South Florida are ready to fight for your rights. They've recovered billions for their clients. There's no cost for a case evaluation and no fee unless they win. Visit foryourrights.com. That's foryourrights.com. Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fraunrath. Proud supporters of Inter Miami FC on ESPN South Florida. Main office in Palm Beach Gardens.
Want to accelerate your career as a manager or executive in the exciting industry of sports? Florida Atlantic University's MBA in Sport Management program is ranked #1 in Florida and 10th in the world. Students learn practical and applied skills from top faculty and experts who work in the industry. With a 94% placement rate for all grads, the full-time MBA program sets students up for success in the world of sports. Check out Florida Atlantic University's MBA in Sport Management program today by going to business.fau.edu.
Today's tax tip is brought to you by Anshin Accountants and Advisors with Robert Gilman, partner and leader of Anshin's Real Estate Group.
Under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, 100% bonus depreciation has been permanently reinstated. Real estate businesses are now able to immediately expense the full cost of qualifying property. Even projects with millions in improvements can benefit from first-year expensing without any spending cap. At Anshin, a partner-owned firm since 1923, we strategically guide real estate businesses through these legislative changes to help them develop a long-term investment strategy and boost cash flow. If you're a real estate professional looking to enhance profitability and minimize tax liabilities, let Anshin deliver value where others can't.
For more tax tips from Anshin, visit Anshin.com. That's ANCHIN.com. Anshin Accountants and Advisors, helping you recalculate what's possible.
Business owners, are your employees driving you nuts? Is money tight? Or have you just poured your heart and soul into your business and now it's time to retire and just relax? At Trans World Business Advisors, they have buyers from all over the world ready to buy your business now. Call for a confidential conversation about your business's current value. 561-203-5121. That's 561-203-5121 or visit tworld.com today.
Need an extra boost? With Boost Checking from Flagler Credit Union, you can earn up to $700 each year with a 7.0% annual percentage yield on balances up to $10,000. That's real money for real moments, like a family getaway or treating yourself to something special. Boost Checking from Flagler Credit Union. Requirements apply to earn the highest dividend rates. Limit one checking account per membership. Dividend rates and annual percentage yield subject to change. Business accounts do not qualify. Insured by NCUA, official credit union of Florida Atlantic Athletics.
Minor League Baseball is in full swing at Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium as the Palm Beach Cardinals take the field on opening weekend, Thursday, April 2nd through Saturday, April 4th. Opening night features a Hawaiian shirt giveaway to the first 500 fans, and Saturday, April 4th, is the debut of the Palm Beach Frozen Iguanas, Minor League Baseball's coldest alternate identity, presented by Iggy Trap. To purchase tickets and find out more information, go to RogerDeanChevroletStadium.com.
For 40 years, Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fraunrath has stood up for clients and South Florida communities. If you've been injured, their experienced attorneys across South Florida are ready to fight for your rights. They've recovered billions for their clients. There's no cost for a case evaluation and no fee unless they win. Visit foryourrights.com. That's foryourrights.com. Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fraunrath, proud supporters of Inter Miami FC on ESPN South Florida. Main office in Palm Beach Gardens.
This is Pink Smoke.
Messi, one-timer to Segovia, goal!
Here's Mike Rizzo.
Welcome on back, folks, to Pink Smoke, where we talk everything Inter Miami, everything Lionel Messi, and everything world football. It's time now to welcome in my good buddy and friend of show, Jake Zivin. He is the lead play-by-play man for Apple TV. Great friend of show. Jake, listen, partner, I just went on about a 15, 17-minute long monologue how upset I am with my national teams. Partner, between our lads with the U.S., with the United States, and my Italy, Jake, I watched that Italy game. I was producing our shows here. Our producer, one of our producers, took a new job. We've kind of been switching the chair on who's producing what day or whatever. Partner, I had to watch that game while trying to do radio yesterday, and it was an adventure. It certainly was one of those things where, like, I'm locked in, but I'm not locked in. And to see that goal go in the 80th minute for Italy, and folks, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, Italy missed their third straight World Cup. Yeah. I am in absolute shambles. I had explained to my 90-year-old grandmother on how she's unable to watch the Italians again. Jake, what was your reaction to that game? And do you have any words of comfort for me, who's worried about the Federation, worried about the lack of young player success and everything under the sun?
I mean, at least the United States are in the World Cup. I'll say that they will be playing in the World Cup. Like, at least that's the case.
We want that? Jake, Jake, brother, do we want that?
At least they're playing games. It's better than Italy, right? So for so many Italian Americans, I feel bad. And I'll extend that to Ireland, though Ireland was a longer shot to make it. But to have Ireland and Italy in this World Cup in North America would have been incredible, just because of the massive communities of Italian Americans, Italian Canadians. You know, Italy was going to play Canada in that first game in Toronto, which is a huge Italian city. Would have been a wild atmosphere of red and blue in that stadium. It's wild, man. It's like a curse. I'm sorry. It's just shocking for. I'm 40, so I grew up. The first, the 94 World Cup is the first one I remember, and Baggio misses the penalty against Brazil, but Italy were a power, right? And then of course they won the World Cup in my lifetime. So to think that Italy would miss 3 straight World Cups is unfathomable. It's hard in Europe. Europe is a really difficult, and it's an unforgiving qualifying format, because you basically have to win your group. Yep. And there's really only like 2 teams in every group that can win it. So it comes down to just a game or 2. And if you miss them, now you got to go a playoff route, and things can happen, like an early red card, and now you're up against it. And I thought when it got to penalties, they would do it. But man, the pressure, the pressure's all on Italy in those penalties, because they've missed 2 in a row. They're expected to be there. And they couldn't handle it, clearly. And Bosnia and Herzegovina could.
And they had the young player first. A lot of Italian, Italian fans like myself, why are we putting him first and not, Keane up there? But it shouldn't have came to that. Like, Jake, it should have never came to that. And like you mentioned, the qualifications, and like, God, Norway. How about that? Jake, if Norway goes to the World Cup and has an absolute stinker like they usually do, I'm going to be a little upset. They had a group stage performance like something I've never seen before.
But look, in that group, Norway probably has the 2 best players. At least, I mean, Erling Haaland is the best player in that group by far, and one of the best players in the world. And
I would agree.
Italy doesn't have a guy like that, right? And so, I was talking to somebody else the other day, and like, who's Italy's best player, or the most famous player? It's probably Donnarumma, right? The goalkeeper. And that's not a great thing when we're used to have Italy having a couple world-class players that just roll off the tongue and are really familiar to every soccer fan in the world, and they don't really have that anymore.
And Jake, that sticks out to me because my brother and I have a famous saying: no one wants to score goals. No young soccer player, football player wants to score goals in Italy anymore. Where the hell is my striker? Where are my wingers? Where?
Italy's always been about the defense, hasn't it?
I know,
right?
we don't play like that, but geez, Jake, no one wants to score goals. You got, great midfield, Tonale, Barea, and obviously Bastoni picked up the damn card, but like DeMarco and Donnarumma. There's players, man. Jake, once again, I'm sitting here and looking for answers. Now, let's flip it on over to the United States men's national team. And once again, Jake Zivin, lead MLS play-by-play man on Apple TV. We all see him. We'll get into, new stadium, Inter Miami, and MLS stuff here in a second. It was a huge international window. And then specifically with Team USA getting outscored 7-2 in these fixtures. Now, the Portugal game, I guess, was a little better than the Belgium game. But Jake, at this point, I told you, partner, I'm like, they're going to be in the World Cup, but do we even want to see them in the World Cup at this point? What's your synopsis on this team after watching these two games?
It's disappointing, right? I mean, we're waiting for them to really be able to compete and play at the same level as some of these world powers, and we haven't seen it. And look, there's been positives. I mean, beating Uruguay 5-1, whatever it was, in November, that seems like a long time ago now, but that was a great performance. And Uruguay's a really good team, but they're not Belgium. They're not Portugal. And if the U.S. wants to do what we all want them to do in a World Cup and really succeed and kind of capture the attention of the nation and go on a run, they're probably going to have to win at least one game against a traditional soccer power, right? A Belgium, a Portugal, maybe it's a huge upset over like a Germany, a France. Right. I don't know, right? And we'll see how the bracket plays out. And but now, I'm leaving these games. I think most people are with questions of that Turkey game is going to be really hard now. Really hard. Like the draw came and everybody thought, oh, they got a great draw, got a great group because it's Australia and it's Paraguay and now this European playoff team. But all of a sudden Turkey wins this playoff, which of course they were favored to do. And they're going to be the favorite in that group, I think, even with the U.S. playing at home because of the recent results. And, there's still a couple games left, right, after the roster is announced. And I hope the team has a little bit of a better showing just to give more confidence and buzz around the group coming into the World Cup because, I'm with you. The questions of how they can get past a really big kind of world power, those still persist and I think are stronger than ever.
And I think Maurizio Pochettino was, a manager and a gaffer that got brought in to take us to the next level, to, get back to being one of the final 8 teams. And Jake, the last time we had you on the show, we kind of both agreed, be one of the last 8 remaining. And I'm sorry, 7-2. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Getting outscored 7-2, it certainly doesn't seem that way. Jake, do you think this team has had enough time to gel together? I think that's actually, if the Pochettino could complain about one thing, I think maybe it's players skipping out on the Gold Cup in a tournament like that, not to have that camaraderie. I mean, I explained to the audience, players who play for Argentina and Brazil, they'll miss club games. Right. They'll be injured for club games, and all of a sudden they're good to go for the national team. That doesn't seem to be the standard for the U.S. right now. Has this team had enough time to mesh together for Pochettino?
Look, have they had enough time? Yes. This is basically the same group that played in Qatar, right? I mean, you look at the guys who lost big to Portugal and Belgium. The majority of those guys were playing against the Netherlands in Qatar. But they haven't played meaningful games with each other. And that's the difference. They didn't have to go through qualifying, and certainly they didn't under Pochettino, right? And so the Gold Cup, it feels like a missed opportunity to play those meaningful games. But even if they had their full A team, so to speak, for the Gold Cup, you're still getting, 1 or 2 tough games, right? Like really tough. And even, games against the competition, the level of competition that, like I said, everybody wants them to beat this summer to really capture the attention of the country. So that's kind of the there's a gift and there's a curse with hosting a World Cup. And that's the one bad part is you don't have to qualify. So you miss out on those games. But these guys, again, they've played important games with each other. It's not like it's a new group. It's not like it's a new generation. This is the extension of that same generation. And so I don't know what it is. I mean, Mauricio Pochettino continues to tinker. He continues to change things up. He was forced a little bit tactically because of injuries to his center backs before that Belgium game. But, even Matt Turner getting the start there and now going without a number 9 against Portugal. And I think there's a lot of desire to hey, let's just see what it's going to be like and have some consistency. That said, Mauricio Pochettino was hired to do one thing, and that's to have a successful World Cup. So we can't judge him until we know what happens at the World Cup, right? Because it's all leading there. That's all that matters.
Yep.
These games won't matter if they have a successful World Cup this summer.
I agree. And that's why, I asked, have they had enough time? Has Pochettino had enough time with the guys who are actually going to be playing? Partner, you brought him up. I think we got to have a tough conversation about Matty Turner. Listen, I thought Turner played well enough in the last World Cup, but I just Jake, you and I watch Freeze, and listen, I know it was a 2-0 result against Portugal. He did get the start. Partner, I would start Freeze at this point. I really would. I think he's the better goalkeeper. I don't know. You cannot trot, especially after that stinker against Belgium. I don't think you could trot that guy out there anymore.
I don't think they will. I mean, look, Freeze had started, I think, 13 straight games under Pochettino before everybody was surprised when Matt Turner got that game. And I don't know what's going on in Pochettino's mind. I mean, he does seem to really want to keep everybody almost on their toes and keep them competitive. And that was a criticism for the group in 22, and a criticism for Greg Berhalter is that everybody felt comfortable in their positions. Nobody felt like the person behind them was going to take their spot in the starting 11 or just in the squad. Pochettino has, I think, clearly tried to change that and has done a nice job of that by bringing in a lot of players, giving a lot of players opportunities. Maybe it's a step too far to bring Turner in for that game when it seems like Freeze is going to be the number 1.
Yep.
Certainly the thought now is, it'll be Freeze. It'll be back to Freeze in the World Cup. And like you said, he was good against Portugal. The eye test shows he was better in this window. But I don't know. Pochettino has surprised, and maybe he'll have another one. And I do like Matt Freeze, though. I think, to your point, he instills a little more confidence, I think, at this point of all the goalkeepers.
Jake, even back to the Gold Cup where he was making saves, and I think at this point in his career, he deserves that spot. Now, Jake Zivin is joining us, lead MLS play-by-play man for Apple TV. Jake, the last thing internationally, England is always gonna surround the headlines when it comes to football. And I mean, geez, listen, Jake, I don't even mind shouting them out because they're a pond away. But partner, I love Talk Sport. I can't get enough of Simon Jordan. I can't get enough of Jim White. Listening to them this morning, I mean, the sky is falling. The sky is falling after losing to Japan 1-0. They're already out on Thomas Tuchel. It seems like any Englishman you ask about Thomas Tuchel, first off, they can't believe that he's, coaching the team at being German. Where are you at with England? Because the group, they didn't get a good group. They got a tough draw on the group. Is this a team that you could see, being one of the last? I think if they're not one of the last 4 remaining, I think England fans will be upset. Hell, if they don't win the thing, England fans are going to be upset. But what do you think? What do you think are the realistic? What do you think the realistic result is going to be for England in this World Cup? I mean, Jake, Argentina, France, Spain. I mean, I probably would put them ahead of England at this point, and it's crazy with the roster they have.
Those are probably the 3 favorites, as you said, but England will be right there in kind of that next tier. I agree with you. They got a pretty tough group in a World Cup that doesn't have a lot of tough groups, right? When you expand it to 48 teams, there's just like not going to be those groups of death that you would see in the past. So really, you're looking at, okay, what groups have 3 good teams as opposed to have 4 good teams, and with Croatia and Ghana, that's 3 good teams. Panama, in North America, close to home, maybe they could do something. They've obviously caused the United States a lot of problems the past couple of years, but I don't think anybody's considering them at the level of those other teams. But the format's so forgiving now. 3rd place teams get in. You're not every 3rd place team, right? But so I think England, you beat Panama and you're probably already just guaranteed yourselves going through at the worst, even if you lose the other 2 games. But they'll be, I think, right, quarterfinalists at least. They'll be predicted to be, and then who knows from there. It depends if the draw puts them up against a France, a Spain, and I haven't done all the permutations in the bracket.
No, for sure.
Okay, who can make in the quarterfinals? But if they have to face one of those really good teams in the quarterfinals, one of them is going to get knocked out. If not, it's a decent kind of path. Then sure, semifinals and why not further? I don't know about winning, but at one point it'll come home, right? I don't know. I don't know if it'll be this summer.
Hang on, Jake. I'm a big baseball guy over here. I did not like losing that World Baseball Classic 2nd year in a row. I did not like losing that. We were not able to deploy our pitching correctly. So I actually know how England feels. I know how England feels about the trophy not coming home. All right, listen, bonus one, last international question. Obviously, with the U.S., there's a tremendous amount of pressure. I think you're seeing that in these friendlies and everywhere. Outside of the U.S., who's under the most pressure? Is it Canada? Is it Mexico? Or is it a team across the pond that maybe isn't going to be one of the host nations?
Man, I think Mexico always has an incredible amount of pressure. They were like kind of booed and jeered against in a 0-0 draw against Portugal in this window, right? So Mexico played Portugal first and then Belgium second, and they flipped. And man, like you listen, you read some kind of more reasonable pundits, and they're like, this was a good result. Like, yeah, we didn't dominate the game against Portugal. We're not going to. Portugal is one of the best teams in the world, but we held them scoreless, and we got out of there with a draw, and they're getting jeered. And I think the fans were even olaying Portugal at some point, which is like you go like every Portugal pass, ole, and it's coming from Mexican fans and not Portuguese fans. They get a 1-1 draw against Belgium. So this is a really positive international break for Mexico, especially when you compare it to what the U.S. did against the
sky's falling over here. All right.
Yeah. But there's so much pressure internally, and being at home, I mean, the expectations will be sky high to have a good performance for Mexico. And outside of that, it's England. Yeah, as you said, right? I mean, they always have to have that pressure. And Argentina will have a little bit as defending champs, though there's so much goodwill from that. And Brazil, right, who haven't been the Brazil that most people are used to. Can they be that Brazil again in a World Cup this summer? Doesn't seem like they will. They don't seem like they have that group to do it. But
they need a striker, Jake.
Yeah.
They Victor Roque, and they're starting Vinicius up there. They need a striker. I mean, my God, it's a Brazilian team who doesn't have a striker. All right, Jake, let's get to the MLS, because obviously we're opening up new stadium here, coming up with Inter Miami this weekend. Partner, you going to be there?
Yeah, we're there.
Oh, dude, I'm going to find you. I'm going to find you.
Come say hi.
I'm going to find you.
I don't know where to tell you to meet us.
Dude, no, trust me.
Nobody has.
None of us do. None of us do it. So I plan on getting there about 3 hours before the match. So I'm sure I'll run into you there. But partner, we haven't had MLS action over the last week. Inter Miami, left a good taste in our mouth against NYCFC before that international break. I haven't talked to you since Inter Miami got bounced from the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I mean, I've heard a lot of crazy rumors about Berterame, and everyone's got a conspiracy theory on how, Javier Mascherano is insane for passing the ball back after going up 1-0. Where are you at with the team in general after the last couple of fixtures?
Obviously, the CONCACAF Champions Cup is a big disappointment. After MLS Cup, Jorge Mas and David Beckham did an interview with Jillian Sakovits on our broadcast. This is minutes after winning MLS Cup. And they said, next is the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Like and then we want to win that so we can be back in the Club World Cup. And this was clearly the next goal for this club, was winning the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So to go out in the first round that they were in against a team that they've had a lot of success against over the past 3 years is obviously a big disappointment. They still haven't clicked, right? I mean, look, they're going to be fine, and they're in a good place in the standings. But when you watched them play, they don't. It doesn't look like this year's group has clicked. Berterame is perplexing to me. That he just doesn't look like he fits in. Yeah. It's only been 8-9 games, all competitions. There's plenty of time for him to integrate and for everybody to figure out how to play best with each other. But when they weren't playing with him and they went back to that kind of formation or that setup that we saw in the playoffs with Messi as kind of a false nine, and you've got Allende and Silvetti on either side of him, these runners. And Allende can also drop back on the right wing. Segovia is kind of taking that Baltasar Rodriguez role on the left side in the midfield. So whether it's a 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, however it's going to look, more 4-3-3, it just works, and it looked good, and it worked again. And Berterame comes in, and so that moves where Messi's going to play as either a second striker or a 10, and it doesn't quite look the same. Or even on the right wing as a playmaker, it doesn't look the same. So I don't know. I don't think it's a difficult decision for Javier Mascherano. I think it's a difficult task for him to unlock Berterame. They spent $15 million on this guy. He is a good striker. Like, Portland wanted him, were willing to pay the release clause. They got close. Didn't happen. He decided to stay in Mexico because he wanted to wait to get citizenship. Cincinnati did the same thing. They thought he was coming. They were paying the $15 million release clause. I think they'd even agreed, and he backed out at the last minute, again, to stay in Monterrey, to stay in Mexico. Finally, Miami convinced him to come to MLS. Of course, Messi, like they're going to, that's the carrot. But it hasn't looked like, he hasn't looked like a striker that teams were clamoring for and trying to get to MLS for years. I think he's there. He's still that player, but they've got to figure out how to bring that out of him.
And Jake, with what you just said there, they brought him in for CONCACAF Champions Cup to go to the next level and possibly win that tournament. I remember when he killed Inter Miami for Monterrey. Remember when what was it, 2 years ago? I feel like that was a big, I don't want to say tryout, but I mean, that was a big reason why I think Jorge Mas, David Beckham and company wanted to bring him in. Now, partner, I think the NYCFC game might have gave him a lot of confidence. I mean, Jake, that team, I was very surprised. I mean, Morales and Ojeda. I mean, and I know we've seen NYCFC before, but it seems like they might be on a little bit of a different level this year with the attack, with Freeze and goal. Freeze didn't even play well in the game, but I think that match might have gave Inter Miami the confidence of, hey, we're still here. We're MLS Cup champions. Let's put all our eggs in this MLS basket and let's go for it. I think that an NYCFC game gave them some confidence after a bad CONCACAF crash out.
Yeah, and NYCFC is a really good team. I mean, they made it to the Eastern Conference Final last year. They went on kind of that surprise run, and then that game was closer than the scoreline, that Eastern Conference Final. Rocco Rios Novo made an incredible save in like the 60th, 70th minute that would have, I think, leveled the game. Or I think it would have put New York City ahead. And then Miami comes down the other way, and then the floodgates open. They get their goals, and maybe it would have ended that way regardless. But New York City played Miami really well in that Eastern Conference Final, despite again a really, really lopsided score. And they've played really well to begin this season. They're going to be a really good team in the East this year. I think Yankee Stadium fits Miami well. The defenders don't have to defend in as much space because it's the smallest pitch in Major League Soccer. So that kind of takes away perhaps a weakness of Inter Miami. I think Miami can struggle when the game gets super stretched. They can struggle in the defense because they want to go forward so much. And now you're leaving defenders on an island. There's never really an island at Yankee Stadium. There's not enough room for one. And also when you have highly technically skilled players like Miami does playing in a smaller, that's going to benefit. A smaller pitch is going to benefit the team with the highly skilled, highly technical, and really intelligent players. So it's a good place for Miami to play and win. But I agree, coming off of a really disappointing CONCACAF Champions Cup exit, I think that'll give them a lot of confidence. They don't need confidence; they have it. But and now coming home to this new stadium. I mean, yes, they played it. I guess it's now known as Inter Miami Stadium. It's no longer Chase Stadium. They played that second leg there, but it's been a long, long time on the road for them. Preseason in South America and Central America, and then around the country to begin this year for the first month. Now they can settle in at new stadium, as it's known, and feed off of what should be an incredible atmosphere.
Now, Jake, appreciate all the time, partner. Once again, Jake Zivin, lead MLS play-by-play man for Apple TV. We all hear him and Taylor Twellman on those great broadcasts. Now, Jake, rank them. Inter Miami, Nashville, and LAFC. This moment in time, at least in my opinion, partner, I know Inter Miami technically third on the Eastern Conference table, but those three, I think, Nashville, Inter Miami, and LAFC, I think those are different gravy, but rank those three. And if I'm missing a top three team at this point in Jake Zivin's eyes, you let me know and you rank them.
I'd go LAFC 1. They have not been scored on. And look, they beat Miami 3-0.
They look crazy.
You have to go
Nashville.
Nuts. They look nuts. Though they don't dominate. I mean, that's the thing. Austin's coming into town, right? So I just a few days ago watched with kind of a fine-tooth comb Austin's last game, which was against LAFC. And LAFC, they're coming off CONCACAF Champions Cup for that game, but they weren't super inspiring. Scoreless draw. They'll be fine. Nashville 2 and a close 2, and they have to be ahead of Miami. They beat them. Though I guess it was to be fair, they didn't beat them. Both games were draws. They advanced past them because of the away goals rule. But still, you got to put them above. And then Miami. But I think the team you're missing are the Vancouver Whitecaps. Yeah. I think they might be the best team in the league. The team that Miami beat in MLS Cup, they look great. Great. And they've been blowing teams out. And they're out of CONCACAF Champions Cup now, which actually might help them because they don't have to worry about two competitions. Yeah. So to me, those are a good top 4. San Diego thrown there as well, but It's gonna be a good. It's been an interesting season. Interesting season because the usual suspects aren't there.
The Vancouver,
Columbus, Cincinnati, etc. Yeah.
Listen, that championship game got a bit dicey for a little bit against Vancouver.
It did.
You know what
Of course it did.
So
if they hit the post 3 times in 5 seconds, if that goes
unbelievable.
in, Vancouver are probably the champions right now if that goes in.
Appreciate Jake for joining us. You can follow him on X and Twitter at Jake Zivin. That is at Jake Zivin. And obviously, we all see him on the Apple TV broadcast. Jake, thank you so much, partner. Listen, I'm going to find you coming up Saturday at News Stadium. I don't know where I might be in the rafters, partner. I might be all the way up, but I'm going to scream down to you.
Too.
Yeah, who we really know might be.
I don't know.
It might be on the catwalk standing up doing the broadcast, but I can't wait. And listen, you got to tell Taylor Twellman, JJ Weatherholt. I told him JJ Weatherholt was going to be a star for St. Louis Cardinals, and I'm looking forward to him getting me some dinner when the Red Sox hit the over.
Hey, you come tell him, find us at New Stadium.
I'm going to parachute down. Jake, I'm a parachute down from the catwalk up top.
Can't wait. Shawn Michaels, get one of those.
Yes.
Rappel down. You know.
Jake, thanks again, partner. Appreciate all the time as always.
Anytime, my man.
That was Jake Zivin from Apple TV. We're going to take our final timeout of the program. When we return, we will check out the injury report presented by Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath on your Inter Miami Radio Network.
Picture this, a curve in the road, a change in plans. Well, what do you say? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer is always yes. Yes to adventure. Yes to escape. Yes to performance. Yes to comfort. Yes to right now. Because saying yes without hesitation, that's real luxury. The all-new Audi Q3, made for the yes life.
Whether you need batteries, tires, or services, we know you depend on your vehicle. You can depend on St. Lucie Battery and Tire. With the largest inventories, expert technicians, and a best price out the door every day guaranteed, you'll drive away with confidence. Life doesn't stop, and neither should your car. St. Lucie Battery and Tire is here for you. Our experts keep your vehicle ready with batteries, tires, and service you can trust. Fast, friendly, and always reliable.
Ready to take on any terrain? The all-new 2026 Defender 110 P300S is here. Built for those who crave adventure without compromising on luxury. Lease the powerful 2026 Defender 110 P300S for just $899 per month for 36 months. Whether you're tackling the toughest roads or cruising the city, the Defender is ready for it all. Don't wait. Visit Land Rover Palm Beach today and experience the Defender like never before. Terms and conditions apply. See dealer for details.
Hey, ref, time out, man. All right, team, we're only down by 5. We can still win this. Grab some water and get back out there. Whoa, not that water. You need Culligan water. With a free water test and advanced reverse osmosis purification system, Culligan helps reduce contaminants, delivering cleaner, safer, better tasting water. Enjoy 12 months interest-free. Schedule your free test today at Culligan.com. Serving all of South Florida, residential or commercial.
Hey, Culligan man!
This is Pink Smoke.
Messi, one-timer to Segovia, goal!
Here's Mike Rizzo.
Welcome back, folks, to Pink Smoke, our final segment, 888-760-3776. That number to call on in. Reacting to the, at least for me, terrible international news in world football about Italy missing their 3rd straight World Cup and the United States team losing their 2 fixtures by a combined score of 7-2 to Portugal and Belgium. I appreciate my good buddy, man, Jake Zivin. Appreciate all the time he gave us here on Pink Smoke. Jake is the lead play-by-play man for Apple TV. Him and Taylor Twellman do such a great job on their broadcasts, game in and game out. They call all the big games. They're usually at the Inter Miami games, folks, because, you know, we're Inter Miami. We're a massive club, mate. Biggest club on this side of the hemisphere. But appreciate Jake joining, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on Saturday. I do have to hit an injury report, though. And, folks, as you know, our injury reports on Pink Smoke and your Inter Miami Radio Network are brought to you by Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath. And for 40 years, Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath, they have stood up for clients and South Florida communities. If you've been injured, their experienced attorneys across South Florida are ready to go and fight for your rights. They have recovered billions for their clients. There is no cost for a case evaluation at Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath, and no fee unless they win. Visit Abogado. That is abogado-florida.com. Abogado-florida.com for more information. Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath, proud supporters of Inter Miami CF on ESPN South Florida. Main offices in Palm Beach Gardens. Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath. All right, two guys on the injury report for Inter Miami. Sergio Reguilon, the starting left back for Inter Miami. He came back, played about a game and a half, and in the second game he started, he had to exit with injury. Now, the sad part is Reguilon is a quality player. I think he's a good replacement for Jordi Alba, who hung up the boots last year. And similar to, his entire career, folks, I mean, this is a left back who played for the Tottenham Hotspurs, played in La Liga, played for Manchester United. I mean, this is a big-time player. The knock has kind of been injuries, and I hope Sergio Reguilon is able to get healthy and piece together a good season for Inter Miami, because I think when he is available, he is solid. Now, Maxi Falcone is the next one on this list. He got a knee injury to that right knee against Nashville in the first leg of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Maxi Falcone has been a nailed-on starting center back for Inter Miami when healthy. Filling in for him has been Gonzalo Luan. I think Luan is certainly a defender who is capable at an MLS level. He scored a goal against NYCFC, our last fixture. Now, it was a Ricky rebound goal off of a corner kick. Talasco Segovia blasted one to the net. It got deflected, and Luan ended up with it, and he scored. And believe it or not, it was Gonzalo Luan's first ever professional career goal. So that was pretty cool. But Maxi Falcone on the injury list, presented by Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath. I'm looking forward. And by the way, that was the injury report presented by Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath. Appreciate our great friends. Now, I am looking forward to new stadium. I am looking forward to the brand new stadium that I am going to be live at, doing Inter Miami play-by-play coming up on Saturday. It's going to be a 7:30 start time on your Inter Miami radio network. I urge you all to go on YouTube and type in ESPN West Palm FC. That's ESPN West Palm FC. That is our world football channel, or as us Americans say it, our soccer channel. Folks, I'm always posting shorts about Inter Miami, about Lionel Messi, and about all the international action and club action that is happening in football. We stream all of our games on there. So obviously we're audio only, but you could listen to all our games at ESPN West Palm FC. My good buddy Kate Chumson does a great job producing it. It's got a great thumbnail, and you can listen to the whole game right there for free. That is at ESPN West Palm FC. Give us a subscription, turn notifications on, and you will see every single time we go live with our Inter Miami coverage. We are the official English Inter Miami home. The official English Inter Miami home, and you can listen to it all, ESPN West Palm FC, and follow all of our football content. Now, do you want to know how you guys are going to get down to the brand new Inter Miami Stadium and new stadium in Miami? Now, it's right next to the airport, and my good friends at Tri-Rail, they got you covered, because if you love soccer, if you love football, let Tri-Rail be your connection to the Inter Miami CF games at Miami Freedom Park. We encourage you to take the train with the Tri-Rail to avoid parking and traffic hassles. If you have not been on Tri-Rail before, now is your time to enjoy the ride. It's easy to access from 19 train stations across South Florida. Tri-Rail gets you right to the game, with the new stadium just steps away from its Miami airport station. Plus, there will be a special train to get you back home. And the price is right, too, with weekend round-trip fares, only $5. Folks, $5? You cannot beat that. So let's go on Tri-Rail. Be sure to plan your ride at tri-rail.com. Folks, tri-rail.com to plan your trip and to go see the Inter Miami Herons at brand new stadium. We'll see you aboard and at the games. So you're going to get down to the new Inter Miami Stadium with our good friends at Tri-Rail. Now, Kate Chumsland is our producer here at the City Place Studios in downtown West Palm Beach today. Kate, when I say World Cup, what is the first memory that comes to mind for you?
The first memory that comes to mind just initially is Lionel Messi in the last World Cup. My earliest memory of a World Cup sitting down to watch it was, I believe, Germany, Argentina.
2014.
Went to extra time. That is probably the first one that I sat down and watched from start to finish. And I believe it was 0-0 until that final goal.
It was.
But that was an exciting game.
Yep, and certainly, I mean, that was when Lionel Messi was in his first ever World Cup final, and Germany obviously able to hoist that trophy that year. Now, Cade, for me, it's 2002. It's in Korea. It's Team USA going the deepest they ever went. I was 8 years old. I was fresh off of my first ever professional soccer game. It was a preseason match in the States for Manchester United. My father took me, so I became a fan of my two favorite soccer entities outside of Inter Miami in Manchester United and Team USA, all in the same year. So, and obviously, folks, me being Italian, I was born into being an Italian national team fan. 3 straight World Cups, no Italy. I had to explain that to my grandmother, and I know I've said it did not go well. Folks, you hear that music, that means it's time for us to go. Sometimes friends have to go away, but a part of them stays with you forever. Remember that in this life. Appreciate Jake Zivin from Apple TV joining us. You can follow him on X at Jake Zivin. We'll catch up with you guys coming up next Wednesday, but keep in mind, we have the brand new stadium opener for Inter Miami coming up on Saturday. We'll be going live at 7:30. This has been Pink Smoke on your Inter Miami Radio Network.
Picture this. A curve in the road, a change in plans. Well, what do you say? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer's always yes.